So I am honored and grateful to be here. I love this anniversary of Palm Sunday that 6 years ago was my first talk here, and I know Daniel Stoner was here. And we're looking so good, aren't we? I mean, we just don't age. This stuff just keeps you so young. And that we all have continued in this transformation, in this being more of who we were born to be, being authentic and being transparent and being naked, as I would say. And after 30 days of silence, I feel really naked. In fact, it was only 28. Okay, I got to be honest in here. 28 days. But man, oh man, oh man. You know, the idea of this place of knowing oneself is where we get to live this truth. You know, the truth will set us free, but we often avoid the truth. So to allow ourselves to live this message of the Christ consciousness, we have to take off a lot of stories of what I am not for what I am. Yeah, so the song is so powerful because he asks, what's it all about? You know, what's it all about, this journey and this spirituality and this life? What's it all about? Because it scares us, and we want it, and we love it. But what is it? You know, what is it? Who am I? And it's really wonderful to live in this mystery, that there's no answer, there's no destination, there's no, I got it all figured out. It's an ever-evolving experience. It's an every breath deal. And so this is the good news, and also can be very frustrating news, because it isn't a place where we're gonna know it, we're going to experience it. There was a cartoon in a spiritual magazine that I saw, a little boy and his father walking along, and the father looks down at the little boy and says, you know, before Google, we just had a lot of unanswered questions. And so we get to live in that state of, I got a lot of unanswered questions, because this is how it goes. And so, you know, to go off for a 28-day experience of silence, there was about 1 million things I would have rather done. And I had considered this about a year ago to do this, and I've been doing silent retreats for about 12 years now. And it took about a year for me to be ready for it. And so I would imagine, and I know for sure, because I've journeyed with many of you, we get more ready for our life to happen. And so the talk this morning is, prepare ye the way, because we're being prepared for all the blessings that life has to offer us. And if we don't recognize the power and the majesty of who we are, we miss a lot of things. You know, Jesus said that none are as blind than those who cannot see. So we'll reflect on some of these teachings of Jesus today, because his message was, this is in you. You know, this message of love and transformation and peace was going on before Jesus was born, right? You know, he just came, and it was a man committed to awakening, a man committed to being present in his life. And that is, we know he had a lot of problems. There's not a whole lot written about that, but we know he had his ups and downs. And so he came to say, this is what I've experienced in waking up to who I am, and you were all disciples of this message. You know, I reflect on the privilege of being here at Unity Temple on the Plaza, that the place where Charles Fillmore broke the ground, and that this is what we're carrying on, the message of Buddha and Jesus and Muhammad and Charles and Myrtle and anyone that's inspired you. Then you get to inspire. So how important it is to be in this building and this place. It's called the Founding Church of Unity Temple. I mean, the Founding Church of Unity. And when I go out in the world and say I've worked with Duke Tufte and I'm at Unity Temple, people go, wow. And of course I'm like, it's just me. But you know, it's this place of ownership of this place and this consciousness, and that we are all part of the ever ongoing awakening of the world. And that's a big deal. So this week, we have Palm Sunday. And then we have what's called Holy Week. It was the last week of Jesus' life on earth, and it's called the week that changed the world. And we know that what the week that changed the world is meaning that this is a way of life that can change your idea of who you are. I know for sure this works because I had a story on Palm Sunday. As many of you know, that my Palm Sunday experience was waking up in jail. A wonderful experience. It was a real holy day. I wasn't quite aware of it at the time. It was 29 years ago, so it wasn't last year. I always have to remind people. But that was my sort of story about Palm Sunday. And we all have these stories, right, where they're kind of funny, but we don't feel really good about them. And I told this story over many years. I was arrested for drinking and driving, and I became sober a year after that because that jail experience I was still in a bit of denial. Very deep stuff, that denial. Queen of denial, I used to call myself. So the invitation of Duke to speak on Palm Sunday, my first reaction was, oh, I don't like that day. That day, it doesn't feel good to me. And he said, in his wisdom, as people do around us that don't have our story about ourselves, well, then that's the story you'd want to heal, right? That's the place you want to know something and have a different story. And I'm like, well, no, I guess, And so to come out and tell that story and get naked with you guys around that shame, and nobody left the building, and nobody said, ooh, what an idiot, and what a weirdo person. And then because I got to stand here and be loved in my not knowing, a new knowing came. And then this has been a continuous process of Palm Sunday now being an experience of a loving community, an experience of being free. And that's what spirituality is. That's what this holy life is about, is being free. But isn't it interesting to recognize that we can't be free until we see the prison we're in? Isn't that wild? I was in a prison. I was in a literal prison. But I couldn't see the prison. I wasn't able to be honest with myself at that time. I was able to, do the best I could, which was immediately blame my best friend, my girlfriend, for making me drive. I mean, isn't that bizarre? I'm laying in a jail bed, which wasn't very comfortable, I'll tell you right now. And the first thought that comes into my head is, it's Gretchen's fault. First thought, right? Right? How the immediate thing is, this has nothing to do with me. I am in denial of my life experience, and someone has done this to me. And so Jesus' conversation with us was, no, you are the light of the world. No, you are the place. You are the channel through which God shows up. So we want to be prepared. And if we're not prepared, then we get into our jail. The arrest was the best thing that ever happened to me, because then through probation programs, I ended up going to Alcoholics Anonymous, which then brought me to Unity. So we see that even if we're in a situation right now that feels very imprisoning, our awareness of it will be the best thing that ever happened to us. Okay, so again, the mystery, right? So let's look at the opportunity that we have in this Holy Week and in our life to prepare. Prepare for the greatness that is your world and what you are to experience and to share, the gift of you. So, prepared. I mean, if you think about it, if you have a bicycle, you have a motorcycle, my motorcycle friend's back there. If you have a car, if you have a plane, I'd like to meet you in the back. I'm going to take people on retreats, so we need your plane. But if you have any of these things, you prepare them to do what they're supposed to do. Right? I mean, you fix, you have your bicycle worked out and your motorcycle and your car, because when you get in it, you want it to do its thing. And so your life is the same way, that we want to prepare to be open, so when these great things show up, you are not looking down at the ground going, oh, I'm not worthy, I don't have enough money, I don't have enough education, I'm too old, I'm too young, whatever the flavor of the day is. And we miss the miracle. I'm committed to not miss the miracle. Can we say that together? I'm committed to not miss the miracle, all right? Because that's why you're born, to be that miracle. So let's look at some areas where we can create this preparedness. Does that sound important? All right, okay, so let's hear that. Does that sound important? Yes. All right, okay, cool. Because you know what, we're all in this together. This is a conversation that we're all having together. All right, so one of the first things we want to experience for preparedness is we want to make space. We want to make space, and we can say physically, you want to clean out your closet, you want to clean out your car, because if you don't, there can't be anything new that comes into it. Have you noticed that? You'll buy something new and your closet's all crammed up and you can't even get it in there. So that's a physical experience of making space. But even more importantly, we want to make space in our mind and our heart to receive that is available in life. Now, you may not need to go on a 28-day silent retreat, but that was creating space. I'm a little bit of a slow learner, so I need to go off and see how I'm not in my life. People kept asking me, why are you going? Why are you going? And I'd say, I want a deeper experience of myself. I'm making some changes in my life, and I want to make choices from this knowingness of me. And when I was on the plane going there, I was journaling, and I said, why am I going on this retreat? I'm just in relationship with myself. And I found myself writing, if I want to be my best friend, which I do, then I need to spend time with myself. There's the bell of God there, yeah, so it's the truth, it's like, oh, what an idea, to detach from all the things I think are me, which are outside of me, to be with me. And it wasn't pretty, friends. It wasn't pretty. There's the moments of breathing that I feel like, oh, I'm breathing. This is my life. And there's the moments of I've got a judgment about every single thing, or I'm thinking about, did I send that email for the prosperity class? And who's bringing snacks? And, and I'm not, and somebody would cough and I'd be, oh, my breath. Where was I? I wasn't here. So making the space is a fascinating experience and very uncomfortable for us Westerners that have a lot of, I feel good if I'm productive. I feel good if I've got a big list of stuff to do all day and I'm checking it off. Let's see if you guys were perhaps trained like I was. Idle hands are, all right, the devil's workshop. If you want to get something done, ask a busy person, right? Don't just sit there, okay? So you see, 28 days of silence, my head's going, you lazy, you know what, and how irresponsible of you. It's like, whoa, do I need this or what? And so this space that we want to create is going to be very counterintuitive for the busyness that we have decided is important. So let me tell you why this is important. Because if we are busy, a friend of mine told me about her mom who worked at a restaurant and was a waitress and really, enjoyed her work and loved people. And there came a time when the owner of the restaurant said, you are so amazing and such a great employee that I'm going to resign, I'm going to retire, and I'd really love to just give you the restaurant. I'm going to keep paying, and you can keep working here, and eventually you could own it. And you know what she said? No. It would have been something that would have been a really great experience for her, but because there wasn't any space in her consciousness to be something bigger than a worker at this place, she said no. Do you see how that happens? That when we don't have space in our mind and in our heart, things come along in our life and we'll reject them because we can't understand how we could have such a wonderful life. People are scared to be happy. It's just the weirdest thing. You think of the last time could we go on a vacation together? Or could we? And you notice how immediately you got a story of how it can't work. So Jesus invited us into this openness when taking the risk of saying yes to who you are. And so conversely, when we show up at places that are about possibility, which are unity communities, we have different experiences. I know two lovely people here that came to a prosperity class. And in these prosperity classes, we talk about these kind of spiritual principles, and then I get people in twos to share about what they've learned. And these two people, I'd get them in twos to share, and then sometimes I'd get them in other twos, but somehow or another they ended up in this two-ship sharing, broke my rule. And so they kept sharing, and about a year ago, Pam Porter and Randy Burwell, well, now they're Mr. and Miss Burwell, were married. Woohoo, yeah. And so when we're open, amazing stuff starts to happen. When I show up for life, when I make space, things happen. Jesus taught in parables. I think if he was around today, he'd have a parable app. All right? You just push this parable app. So a parable that he would tell about nature, because what an incredible season we have here, right? Everything that was in that life, when the time was right, it happened, it blossomed. All those flowers were already in there, and now here they are. And your life's the same way. So he told the parable of the guy that sowed the seeds, and that they'd fall on hard ground sometime, and the birds would eat them. They'd fall on topsoil, where we'd get it in our head, but we weren't living it. It wouldn't root. They'd fall in areas where there's thorns, where there's just too many other things going on that something can't grow, or fertile soil. And so fertile soil is about being open, making space, making it happen, letting it happen. So I'll tell you just briefly before we go into our next thing that making space, people can think it may be kind of strange. When you've been a busy person, to take some space may feel a little different. All right? And so doing something different. Have you noticed since you started coming to Unity that maybe family members or your old friends kind of go, you're kind of different. And we get to be used to being a little different. And Duke's helped me a lot with this. The pleasure of working with Duke, we are two different personality types. I'm an extrovert, and Duke is an introvert. And so when I go in to discuss something sometimes, I have a big story I'm telling him, and Duke sometimes will get this experience on his face that I can't tell what he's thinking, kind of like right now. And so I will say to him, because my old story is he's thinking something that I'm not well or something, and I'll say, Duke, can you tell me how you feel? Because I'm making a story up over here. I said, because half the time when I'm talking with you, I think you think I'm crazy. Half the time when I'm talking to you, I think you think I'm crazy. And Duke looked forward with his grin on his face, and he says, oh, Heidi, it's way more than half the time. So see, once you get good with being a little different, you can start doing these things. And it cracked me up. It was like, see, my story is so nuts. Although, and then he said, no, I really think you're amazing. So it's just so interesting, our stuff. And we get to make then this space of letting life unfold. So I'm going to give you guys an experience of saying this, all right? Well, before this, I'd like you to focus on something in this building that brings you inspiration, okay? So we make some space in our minds, all right? So focus on anything in this building that brings you in. It could be a person, but they change more than this building. So focus on something, and let's just breathe into that for about 30 seconds. Okay, so take this breath. And did you notice that it created some space from whatever you were thinking about? You know, whatever was going on with you, you created some space in your mind to notice something that you might not have noticed. And this is what I'm talking about with living your life, is that we start to notice the things that are going on, like our breath, like the things we appreciate. All right, so let's do something. Put your hand on your heart and your stomach. And let's just breathe in. And in this experience of space, repeat after me. I create the space to notice all the blessings all around me. And let's take a breath. All right. So, again, that you start to recognize who you are rather than who you are not. This was the greatest part of making space, is that I got to see I am not my job. I am not my clothes. I got to wear sweats all the time. I am not my shoes. I know Millie and I are like, don't go there. I am not my food. We didn't wear any smells. I'm not my smells. I'm not a lot of these things that I think I am. And so when we go there and make that space, we see who we are. Now, I knew this talk would go on longer because I have had 28 days to think about it. So in the rest of this week, because next week you're going to come and put a flower of the consciousness that you are in this symbol of the Christ consciousness. So in the rest of this is that you want to be sweet to yourself as you go through this journey. You want to be kind. You want to understand that you are satisfied. You have everything you need. You can't breathe into tomorrow. Today's moment, this breath is really great. New ideas will come. I've changed the name of my world. It was called Let's Get Naked, Revealing Your Authentic Self, which is still the radio show. But now it's called the Naked I, the pronoun I. And I have a table back there. I'd love to, keep in touch with you all, because we're all growing together. We're all exposing more of who we are. And then finally, the surrender. And I'm going to be with this for just a minute, Jesus was in obviously quite a big struggle to be who he was right before he went on to be crucified. And so a very, take this cup from me. This is not, I don't want to do this. How many times are we in struggle and go, please, could somebody else have this problem? I don't want to be an alcoholic. I don't want to be divorced. I don't want to be sad. I don't want to be in pain. And then we see, as we can sit with that and make space and be sweet to ourselves, that this is what is going to break me open. This is what allows me to connect. This is what allows me to love. And so he surrendered, thy will, not my will, be done. And he went through this experience that was dying to his old self and then resurrected to a transparent being that then was pure love and pure spirit. And that's what we get to do, even in this human incarnation, is be heaven on earth. So I wanted to appreciate each and every one of you. I realized that this week I was ordained a year ago this week, last Tuesday, and it's because of you all. I would not have been able to do that without each and every one of you. So I'm going to do something that they did the last night at our retreat. I want to thank you. A minister can't be a minister without people that are wanting to show up to change their lives and live who they are. So I want to thank you for showing up when you felt happy, when you felt joyful, and when you were celebrating something. But I really want to thank you for showing up when you were in pain, when you were sad, when you were lost, when you felt like you didn't know where to go, when you lost your job, when you lost a friend, when someone was sick, when you were sick, when you were divorced, when you really didn't feel good about God, that you volunteered when you didn't think you had time, that you donated your money to this place when you didn't feel very prosperous. I want to thank this choir for singing especially songs like Weave that you don't like, for just donating your time, and to Steve Perry and Robert Farrago, and to Duke for inviting me into something I didn't know I could do. Millie, for sharing your voice. I also want to ask for your forgiveness for any time I've offended you or said anything unkind to you or not had the time when you needed it or not returned your phone call when you wanted me to. That I couldn't be me if it wasn't for you. And thank you for showing up as you so I could become more of who I am. And so let's go into the surrender affirmation, if you'll take a breath together. I surrender my life. Together. To my highest purpose. And to my Christ consciousness. That I am a channel. Into thy hands I commit my spirit. I am a holy being. And I allow my life to be revealed to me. And let's take a breath into that. And I just like to tell you as we go into our meditation in a moment that I bow to your ministry. I bow to your courage. I bow to your heart. And you, my friends, are very well prepared to be who you are. Namaste and amen. And let us go into our meditation time. We breathe into this holy moment. This breath is my life, and I pay attention to it. Jesus invited us to know that we are transformed by the renewal of our mind. So we create space by loving who we are, by reflecting on the spaciousness that is our lungs expanding through this breath, is our heart beating, is the appreciation of this life that carries the essence of Jesus and Buddha and Helen Keller and Myrtle Fillmore and any person that inspires you, you are now carrying their energy. So we take time in the silence to reflect on the holiness of my life and the incredible ways that the world wants to get my attention to be the minister that I am in the silence. I breathe into this moment, and I make a commitment to myself to continue to create this spaciousness, to take time to be with me, because I am the place where the world awakens. I am the place where the world awakens, and so it is.
I now let go. There is nothing to fear. I now let go. There is nothing to fear. I now let go. There is nothing to fear. I